7 days, one method, documented every single attempt. I wanted to know once and for all, does reality shifting actually work, or is it just an elaborate collective daydream? So I committed. 7 consecutive nights, the Raven method. The Raven method. I tracked my symptoms, recorded every sensation, and documented every result. I went in with a healthy dose of skepticism, determined to see if consistent practice would yield anything tangible. And what happened on day 5? I did not expect that. This is my complete unfiltered reality shifting experiment. No theories, no spiritual jargon, just the data, the symptoms, and the raw experience. Let's see what actually happened. First, the rules of the experiment. Why 7 days? I wanted to test consistency. Most habits show some form of result or adaptation within a week, so if shifting was a skill, I should see some progression. I chose the Raven method because it's the most documented, the easiest to replicate. You lie down in a starfish position, you count to 100 with affirmations between each number, and you visualize your desired reality. Simple. Easy to standardize. My tracking was meticulous. A journal for immediate impressions, a symptom checklist for physical and mental markers, tingling, floating sensations, auditory changes, visual phenomena, and of course, the result. I also used a sleep app to monitor my sleep quality throughout the night. My starting point, I'd say 60% hopeful believer, 40% firm skeptic. I wanted it to be real, but my logical mind needed proof. My hypothesis was this: if shifting is a real phenomenon, then dedicated, nightly practice should produce some measurable, repeatable symptoms and ideally some form of result. I promised myself complete transparency. I would share the boring nights, the frustrating failures, and if it happened, the successes. This is the setup. This is the baseline. Let's begin. Day 1. The baseline. I prepared like a student before an exam. I meditated for 15 minutes to clear my mind. I wrote in my journal, intention, to shift to my waiting room, a calm, neutral space I've scripted. I did my affirmations. I am shifting. I am in my desired reality. Lights out at 11 p.m. Room completely dark. I got into the starfish position and started counting. 1, I am shifting. 2, I am shifting. My mind was a chaotic mess. I kept thinking about my to-do list, about the video, about whether I was doing it right. At count 47, I felt a faint, almost electrical tingling in my fingertips. It was subtle, but noticeable. I noted it mentally. But by count 68, I'd completely lost focus, mentally arguing about something that happened earlier in the day. I refocused, kept counting. I remember reaching 82, and then I remember nothing. I woke up the next morning, in my bed, in my current reality. My sleep quality was a 6 out of 10, fairly normal. My dreams were unremarkable. Symptom checklist, tingling, yes. Floating sensation, no. Sounds, no. Visuals, no. Day 1 conclusion, nothing dramatic. The tingling was interesting, but was it just my imagination? A placebo effect because I was hyper-focused on my body? I felt a twinge of disappointment, but also determination. I decided for tomorrow I'd meditate longer before the attempt. The experiment was live. Day 2, the doubt. I upped my preparation to a 20-minute meditation, focusing solely on my breathing and my intention. I felt more relaxed going in. Started at 10:30 p.m. The counting felt smoother. Around count 55, something new happened. I heard a faint, high-pitched buzzing in my ears. It wasn't my tinnitus. This was different. More external. My physical sensations were stronger too. The tingling was more pronounced, and my arms began to feel heavy, almost numb. But here's where the doubt crept in. As I felt these things, my internal monologue started. Is this even real? This is probably just hypnagogia, the normal transition into sleep. You're just falling asleep, you're not shifting. It was a constant battle to quiet that voice and just observe the sensations. I pushed through to 100, maintained focus, repeated my affirmations with more conviction, and then I let myself drift. I woke up, again. In my current reality, my sleep quality was actually worse. A 5 out of 10, I felt restless. Symptom checklist. Tingling, strong, yes. Floating, still no. Sounds, yes, that buzzing. Visuals, no. My reflection that morning was mixed. 2 days in, the symptoms are increasing in intensity. That's data, but still no shift, not even close. Starting to question everything. Is this just a fancy way of falling asleep with extra steps? I made an adjustment. I would add a stronger visualization component during the counting, trying to hold the image of my desired reality in my mind. Day 3. The breakthrough. This night, things changed. I did a full ritual meditation, vision board looking at images that matched my desired reality, and I spent time scripting details in my journal. The energy going in was different. I felt charged, anticipatory. I started at 11 p.m. Almost immediately at count 10, the tingling started. That was new. By count 30, I experienced my first floating sensation. It was unmistakable, a feeling of weightlessness, as if my bed had disappeared beneath me. My heart rate picked up. I kept counting. At 50, I am shifting. 60, I am shifting. At count 62, the room felt like it was spinning. I wrote in my journal right after, heart racing. Actually got scared. Felt a lurch, like on a roller coaster. I pushed through the fear. Count 75. Then I saw it. With my eyes closed, I saw a bright, pulsating white light. It wasn't a vague glow. It was a defined, almost physical presence in my visual field. I panicked. My eyes flew open, and the trance was broken. Everything snapped back to normal. I was just lying in my dark room, heart pounding. I didn't shift. But I had experienced undeniable, intense symptoms. My sleep quality was a 7, and I had incredibly vivid dreams about my desired reality. Symptom checklist, everything, tingling, floating, sounds, visuals, all checked, and all strong. My major realization that morning was profound. Something is happening. The physical symptoms are real, and they are escalating. I didn't shift because I got scared and pulled back. Fear is a block. The emotional mix was intense excitement that this was actually working, and frustration that I'd sabotaged myself. Tomorrow's plan was simple. Push through the fear. Do not open your eyes. Day 4, the pattern. Riding the momentum from day 3, I went in determined and less scared. My preparation was shorter, but more efficient. I knew the drill. I started counting. The symptoms came faster. By count 20, the tingling and heaviness were present. And I noticed a pattern emerging. The symptoms seemed to follow a sequence. Tingling and heaviness, then the floating sensation, then auditory changes, then visual phenomena. It was becoming predictable. I hit the white light again. This time, I stayed with it. I focused on my affirmations while this bright light filled my perception. My body felt completely paralyzed in the best way, not sleep paralysis, but a deep, heavy relaxation. I held it for what felt like 30 seconds, and then I must have fallen asleep within that trance state. I didn't have a normal night. I had a lucid dream, and it was set explicitly in the environment of my desired reality. I woke up confused. My sleep quality was an 8, the best so far. The question in my journal, was that a lucid dream or a mini-shift? The line feels blurred. I can't be sure. But the symptom pattern was now clear and consistent. I was undeniably getting better at entering and maintaining that altered state. The skill was developing. Day 5. The experience. This is the night everything changed. I went in with a confidence I hadn't felt before. Zero doubt. Pure, excited focus. I started at 10 p.m. Symptoms began at count 15 incredibly fast. By count 40, I was in full paralysis. The room had completely dissolved into that now familiar white light. I maintained my focus. I repeated my affirmations, not with desperation, but with certainty. I am shifting. I am in my desired reality. And then, a sudden, profound shift in consciousness and consciousness. It felt less like drifting and more like falling, a sensation of dropping through my bed. And then, stillness. I opened my eyes. I was in a different room, not my bedroom. It was a room I had scripted a simple, calm space with soft gray walls, a large window looking out at a nondescript cityscape, a single comfortable chair. The first thing I noticed was the vividness. The colors were deeper, more saturated. The light from the window felt different, sharper. Oh nay, sharper. I looked down at my hands. They were solid. They were my hands. I pushed myself up from where I was lying on a soft gray carpet and walked to the wall. I touched it. I felt the texture of the paint, cool and slightly rough under my fingertips. I remember thinking, this is real. This is actually happening. I didn't try to do anything grand. I just stood there, absorbing the reality of it. The feeling was not dreamlike. It was stable, concrete. The duration is unclear. It felt like 5, maybe 10 minutes. I didn't plan my return. One moment I was there, feeling a wave of pure awe, and the next I gasped. A sharp, involuntary intake of breath. I was back in my body, in my dark bedroom. The transition was jarring. I lay there for a second, then scrambled for my journal, turning on the light, scribbling down every detail before it could fade. Sleep was impossible for the next 2 hours. My mind was racing, adrenaline coursing through me. Symptom checklist, a full shift experience. The question I grappled with, did I actually shift, or was this the most advanced lucid dream of my life? I am 90% sure it was a shift. The subjective difference in the quality of consciousness, the stability, the tactile sensation, it felt fundamentally different from any lucid dream I've ever had. The frustrating part, no physical proof. I couldn't bring back a souvenir, but the subjective experience was undeniable. It was life-changing. Day 6. The challenge. Now came the pressure. Could I do it again? I went into the attempt with way too much expectation. I was excited, desperate to replicate the Day 5 experience. I did my prep, started counting, and the symptoms were good, strong. But I couldn't break through. It felt like pushing against a glass wall. I'd get to the white light and just hover. No falling sensation, no transition. I realized, in real time, that my desperation was the blocker. Expectation, it seemed, was the enemy. I needed the detached focus of Day 5, not this hungry desire. I ended up having what I'd call a mini experience, a brief flash of a different environment, but it was fleeting, unstable. Not a full shift. Sleep quality was a 6. The lesson was hard but clear. Detachment is crucial, and you have to want it, but you can't be attached to the outcome. I spent the day still processing the enormity of what happened the night before. Day 7. The conclusion, the final night of the formal experiment. I approached it with a sense of closure. I returned to the Day 1 mindset. Curiosity, not desperation. It was a beautiful meditation, peaceful counting. The symptoms were strong and came quickly. I experienced a brief consciousness shift, a moment of being somewhere else, but it was short, and I woke up firmly in my current reality. My sleep quality, however, was a 9 out of 10, deeply peaceful and restorative. My final symptom summary showed a dramatic curve, from faint tingling on Day 1 to consistent, strong, multi-symptom experiences by Day 7. The progression was undeniable. I had gotten measurably better at entering that state. So the results and analysis, the raw data, 7 attempts, 7 nights of experiencing physical and mental symptoms. That's a 100% consistency rate for something happening. One potential full shift on Day 5, 2 mini experiences or lucid dream connections on Days 4 and 7. The symptom progression map was clear. Tingling and heaviness, leading to floating sensation, leading to auditory changes, leading to visual phenomena, leading to a potential consciousness shift. The average time to first symptoms dropped from 47 counts on Day 1 to 15 counts on Day 7. My overall sleep quality improved over the week. My mental state transformed from skeptical doubt to a firm, experience-based belief. What did I learn? First, the physical symptoms are real and repeatable. This isn't just imagination. Second, this is a skill. Practice builds proficiency. I got faster and deeper into the state with each night. Third, and most importantly, fear is the biggest blocker. I saw it on Day 3. Fourth, the paradox of detachment. Wanting it but not needing it is the key that seemed to unlock the door on Day 5. And fifth, the subjective experience on Day 5, for me, was conclusive. It convinced me that shifting in some form is a real phenomenon. From a more scientific perspective, could all this be explained as an advanced form of lucid dreaming? Possibly. The line is incredibly blurry, but the subjective difference I felt on Day 5 was notable. The stability, the tactile realism, the lack of dreamlike fluidity. At the very least, this experiment proves that consciousness states are trainable, that you can, with consistent practice, learn to access profoundly different layers of your own awareness. Whether you call that a reality shifting or advanced consciousness exploration, something very real is happening. Final thoughts. My personal verdict after this 7-day deep dive: reality shifting is real, but it's not magic. It's a skill, a trainable state of consciousness that requires practice, patience, and the right mindset. The proof. My personal experience can't be denied by me, but it also can't be objectively proven to anyone else. That's the nature of subjective experience. For the skeptics watching this, my challenge to you is this: don't take my word for it. Try the 7-day challenge yourself. Be rigorous. Track your symptoms. Document everything. See what your own data tells you. So, what's next for me? I'm continuing the practice. I want to test other methods, the sunny method, the pillow method. I want to see if I can increase the duration and control of the experience. If you found this documentation helpful, if it made you curious, let me know. Comment below and tell me what method I should test next. Or better yet, take the 7-day challenge yourself. Document your attempts. Come back and comment with your results. I am genuinely fascinated by what others experience. If you want to follow along as I document more of these consciousness experiments, subscribe. Hit the like button if this made you want to try shifting, or at least made you question the nature of your own reality. After 7 days, I am a believer. Not because a TikTok told me it was real, not because of a community consensus, but because I experienced it myself. I tracked it, I felt it, I documented it, and you can too. The question after all of this isn't, is shifting real? The question is, are you willing to test it for yourself consistently and see what your own consciousness is capable of? You can start tonight. All you need is a quiet room, a method, and a notebook. The rest is up to you.